it. That's a really great way to throw in the monster. Good for mid-level campaigns. They're recurring villains. It's difficult to kill them. They've got spells. They can always come back. And just their whole MO is deception. Maybe they set themselves up in a city somewhere and are part of some sort of seedy underbelly, kind of like thieves guild situation, or a weird kind of cult that they've formed around themselves. And it's like slowly, as the players peel back the layers of this Rakshasa's deceptions, they uncover the true nature of what's going on, the infernal nature of it as sort of a tiger demon thing, and I don't know, just different.
Right. So now you said that they have like an odd grab bag of powers.
Right.
That can throw off some DMs. So how as a DM do you handle like utilizing that batch of powers that you have access to?
Yeah, so first off, like with any monster, but particularly ones that have spell casting and a bunch of different immunities, what you want to do is just be very familiar with your monsters. Read over the monster manual entry before you run the encounter. The day of the session, make sure you go back to the page of the monster manual. What is it saying? Reading it at the last minute might give you new adventure ideas or help formulate plans that you can improvise with. In terms of actually running the monster, it might be handy not just to write out the stats on a separate sheet of paper, but like make note cards of them. Here are all their defensive abilities, here are all their offensive abilities. Something you can just look at a glance, has everything you need, so that you don't have to go flipping back through the book while you're actually playing. And this goes for dragons that can cast spells, or certain types of outsiders like angels or demons and devils that have a bunch of different powers that it can sometimes be too easy to lose track of.
Let's slither on towards the Naga.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Because there are three different types.
Three different types.
What do you like about it?
I like the Guardian Naga, the good aligned Naga, if only because players aren't going to expect it to be potentially helpful. They might initially see it and it's like, is this a monster? So there could be a few rounds of accidental combat or at least tension as they try to figure out what in the hell is this thing? Why in the world is it here? Is it friendly? Is it not? And then even a good aligned creature like the Naga, because it's so alien and different from the elves, dwarves, humans, that kind of thing, it might not necessarily be immediately helpful. Or the party might have to prove itself to the Naga in order to sort of gain whatever trust it has or powers that it can bestow on the party. And I like them because I like snake monsters. I like the same way that I like the Yonti and certain types of dragons, because it's got that Conan the Barbarian, Thulsa Doom kind of feel to it. It's just sort of weird but at the same time very natural, because you're using animals as a way to project the monstrousness of the monster.
Right.
If it makes any sense. Yeah. Similar to Raksasas or Shasas. They've got a weird grab bag of powers that you've got to stay on top of to really run them to the best of their potential.
Right. But they're also physically capable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as like we don't want to forget about that. The physicality of the monster.
No. In terms of the Naga, where is it lairing? What's its environment look like? These things are bigger than any natural-looking snake. So, what is it? Maybe they find a gigantic snake skin somewhere in a dark forest before they encounter one of the more evil-aligned Nagas. Or maybe they find just enemies that have suffered massive doses of poison as they're making their medicine and health checks or nature checks to determine, like, how did this creature die? Only to realize, like, whatever's out there is a gigantic poisonous snake that we don't want it touching us. We don't want to get anywhere near it. Oh, and it also casts spells.
Right.
And it also can talk. And you can't kill it. It will keep coming back and fighting you. And it's just this terrifying monster that can really serve as a good mid-level villain for a campaign.
Now, do you prefer the more human-faced Naga or the newer where it's more towards the actual fact of the snake? That's one thing that kind of freaked me out about Naga.
Yeah, I like the ones that they juxtapose the animal and the human. So I like the ones that have a face that is very human, and maybe it's the teeth or the eyes that give it away. Maybe they have a forked tongue. For our watchers who are familiar with the Conan story, The God in the Bowl, that last monster, that thing that pops up out of the the bowl, reminds me of a Naga, in that it's just this weird serpentine thing, but it has a very familiar face. And we're prone to recognizing faces and things. Anything that has a human face but a monstrous body is always it's always got a place in my table. I love it. Because these creatures have such a diverse array of powers. As a player, what do you suggest a party does to prepare themselves to fight these two monsters?
It used to be a hell of a lot harder to kill these things. You had to have a crossbow blessed by a cleric with a +1 or arrow or something.
Yeah.
It was nuts. But now, I mean, you just need a good aligned person to shoot the crossbow, right?
Or even just a spear.
Or just a spear. It just has to be piercing damage, right? Just make sure you have a cleric. One thing is important to counter their spell casting, so you can get in there. I think just having that counter spell. Have that ready. Don't shake the table or you'll knock the minis over. Don't use those spell slots for something else when you can use the counter spell, because the last thing you want is for that Rakshasa to really start messing with your party and then slip away.
Well, it's like, what else are you going to do with your spells? They have that limited spell immunity. They're shrugging off lower level magic, so you might as well save some of those slots or some of that spellcasting power.
Right.
You got to shut them down.
Yeah, you got to shut them down and let your fighters fight.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You just stick to that. We need to fight about it.
There haven't yet.
We'll have to get something down there.
I don't know. Maybe it's coming down the pipe.
Okay, cool. Now we ask this sometimes, but what if I wanted to play a Rakshasa in your campaign?
Ooh, wow.
Okay, maybe I just have a hand thing. Maybe I want to flip my hands and I just want to play that out and see how it works.
Sure. I mean, mechanically speaking, I might look at the monster and try to break it down. What are the essential elements of the monster? Is it spellcasting ability innate? Is it something that's learned? I might go to the were-tiger and I might see, what does a were-tiger PC look like, and how can I use that as a model for making a Rakshasa character? I might also dip into a little bit of fourth edition and use some of the lore that's surrounding the Rakshasa there, where they are kind of corrupted angelic spirits who have been caught. Is the player wanting to play off of that? How are they going to play a creature that's normally like demonic or sort of infernal spirit trapped in a corporeal body? How are we going to make that work? If it's an evil campaign, I'm all about it. That'd be a great monster for an evil campaign, because it's just a way to add something new and different to the game. If they're wanting to be in a more conventional campaign with more conventional races, it might be something that they accept being a lower powered version of the Rakshasa, or even the Naga for that matter, and in terms of maybe having it be like a specialized path for whatever class that they choose. With powers, they kind of key off themes of the monsters.
Maybe as they level up, where normally you would get those ability increases at 4th, 8th, 12th, whatever.
Yeah.
You instead turn that into like spell-like abilities or like character abilities.
Absolutely.
Where you start giving them the abilities of it at those levels instead. Like they forfeit their right to ability increase or feats. But hey, you're going to get that ability to whatever.
Kind of like how they divided up monsters into class levels for 3rd edition.
Right.
It's like you let the player choose. Do they want to focus more on what their class lets them offer or lets them have, or more of what the monster lets them have, and let them mix and match as they like.
They look monstrous. Are they inherently evil though?
I mean, according to current D&D lore, yes.
Yeah.
They are sort of devilish, infernal spirits that have been let loose into the world and take this particular feline form. You can always tell them by their weird, backwards shaped hands. And I don't know, it would be nice to ask Wizards of the Coast, can we get a good picture of what a Rakshasa really looks like with the hands? I feel like we haven't really seen a good picture. If our watchers have a really good picture out there, it'd be great if they could point us to a link. Them being infernal creatures is sort of a roadblock to them being player characters, but at the same time, it shouldn't mean that the answer is always no, you can't play these kinds of monsters.
Yeah.
Even in 1974, it suggested that, if the players want to play a dragon or some other monster, that the DM would try to find a way to let that happen.
Right.
And so mostly it's just a matter of trade-offs.
Well, yeah, I mean, because Drizzt, anybody can,
Sure. And it's sometimes fun to just play a monster.
Yeah.
To just open the monster manual and go, I want to be that guy.
Yeah, we should do a campaign where we do that.
That'd be really fun.
Thanks again for watching WebDM. Be sure to click the subscribe button, and also, if you want to head over to Facebook, you can check out Jim's inspiration list for his campaign coming up. We're going to have new ones every Wednesday. Tell your friends. Come back next week. It's not going to work. Why should Hang and Mila Jovovich have all the fun? We're talking elementals.
Yeah,
Actually. What do you think of the elementals that are in the book?
it's a fairly a good spread, particularly if you're looking at earth and fire elementals. There are more of those than there are air and water, which is unfortunate. But really, for air and water, outside of elementals, you're limited to methods. You're limited to invisible stalker or water for your air and water. But for earth and fire, you've got salamanders, you've got Galamdur, you've got gargoyles, you've got magnet and azer. There's a lot of variety in the types of summon and a lot of different things that you can do with them, even though they do tend to have a theme of bound servants and guardians. If there's any one theme towards elementals in the monster manual as it exists, it's that these are things that are conjured by druids and wizards to guard someplace.
They're tools of the natural order.
Yeah, that are used. So I mean, like an invisible stalker is pretty clear. If it's not getting something for you or killing someone for you, it's trying to kill you. Like it's just a vengeful air spirit that you need to give very specific instructions to. But I can see it being used by the party or even against the party as one of those things where, say, a mid-level party needs a magic item. The wizard summons an invisible stalker and says, "Go give me that magic." And that's just taken care of. We don't have to worry about that. It's sort of a side track. Maybe there's a table that the DM holds on to see whether it's successful or not. But for the most part, elementals are servants. In my experience, they're the most commonly summoned extraplanar creature that a party will summon. And at some point, you know that the party has hit the next tier whenever earth elementals just become an addition to every fight.
Yep.
It just seems like in a lot of our games, particularly 5th edition, that at some point the earth elemental shows up and they're there to stay. As a DM, I have to figure, all right, in every fight here, someone will also be summoning an earth elemental. They're the easiest to summon if you're on there's dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
They're the hardiest. I'm surprised we don't summon air elementals more, given what they can do and the ubiquity of the air around you. But the earth does seem to be to the point where I was actually reading through the monster manual entry and like, holy crap, water elementals can drown you if they're grappling you. And I'm like, well, why haven't we summoned more water elementals? Because
yeah.
So in my experience, they are the most commonly summoned creature, particularly the pure elementals. As monsters, for the most part, it doesn't matter if you kill them. You're not having to worry about what they ate for breakfast and who they were and whether they love somebody. So you're prone to worry about that kind of thing. They're just pure elemental natural creatures.
You're gonna be afraid of that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a Brito about it, then you just fight constructs of elementals. Unless they're like one of the elementals that has life existence. And that's the game we play, man. I don't know. In terms of the monster manual, definitely there needs to be more air and water elementals to summon. But at the same time, between the methods and the elementals, there's a wide variety of creatures to summon.
Yeah. What's your favorite of the methods?
I don't know. I think methods probably Steam because they have that weird egomaniacal we're the king of all other methods kind of thing going on. I think there's probably a lot of really interesting things to do with the methods for like low level games. So like first, second level, maybe you're having to deal with a method infestation. An elemental node is spewing, it's open wide, or just wide enough that methods are getting through.
Yeah.
It's just a treacle of methods.
Yeah.
And there's just okay, you get into it, and there's these morose dust methods. You do this in the cemetery, and it could be like a fun series of low-level adventures where this village or town is having to deal with the fact that, we've got a method infestation. We've got dust methods in the cemetery, and steam methods are bossing around everyone over here, and the ice methods are being ultra cruel and skinning cats, and so everything. And it's up to the party members to go corral the methods. Maybe we get one of and have that be sort of a low-level element of adventure, where it's less about like fighting and killing them, and more about like corralling them and getting them all back to where they belong.
Like herding cats.
Like herding cats. Other kinds of elemental adventures, or feature elementals. Maybe the players want something creative, and they know that the only way to get this weapon, armor, ring, whatever, forged is to visit the fires of creation on the border between the earth and the fire planes, and visit the city of the Aether, and convince them. Well, how do you get there? The quickest way to get there is through the city of brass. You've got to deal with the afflicted. You've got to cross the plains of Cinder. And so it's an adventure in and of themselves, so that by 7th, 8th, certainly by 10th level, that should be something that the party could get up to if you want to feature the planes.
Yeah. Your fighter wants a magical sword, but he doesn't just want to get one. He wants it made. Like he knows what he wants.
He knows what he wants. Or maybe it's like, okay, we need a flame tongue to go clear out the trolls from the swamp. Well, the only people that can make a flame tongue are Aether.
Right.
And maybe they just make them, any weapon they make is a flame tongue. But getting to them, convincing them to do it, maybe you got to do a favor for them. Did you get the Ifrit's permission to cross through the flame of fire, and therefore granting you fire? And those Aether are going to be like, what are you working with those people to try to get this? Yeah. There's a lot of potential for adventure just from those, just from Salamander, Ifrit, and Aether. A lot of story potential there. I really want to run a game where the party has to get a diamond or a gemstone of uncommonly large size. And wouldn't you know it, the Zorn on the elemental plane of Earth are having a feast. This is the only place where this gemstone is, and it's at the end of a long table. And the Zorn king is slowly eating his way, Pac-Man style, across the table towards the need. And do you try to offer him something in return? Do you steal it and run away? Do you do it? There's a limited time. He's going to eat that gemstone.
Yeah.
Maybe the thief is subtly sleight of handing it down the table every now and then while your bard is trying to convince the Zorn not to do it. So that's the kind of adventure that I would want to run with that kind of. It's silly. It's weird. It highlights the kind of just the oddities.
Well, but it's also counterbalancing to just kicking down the door and killing the Zorn.
Right.
It lets you use your social skills. It lets those other characters shine.
Maybe the warrior types during that encounter are arm wrestling with other guests who are wanting. There's earth elementals there who want to test their mettle.
Right.
Party barbarian or the party fighter. So I think there's things to do for the combat types in these types of encounters.
Yeah.
But to me, it's more interesting to think of creatures, particularly if you're visiting them on their home plane.
You gotta play by their rules.
To play by their rules, respect their boundaries, that kind of thing, because this is the world that your characters live in. They want to be able to summon these creatures and have someone answer their call.
Right.
And it behooves them to be a little defensive.
Yeah.
Monster Manual has a really interesting idea with the water weird, that depending on what type of water it's made out of, that may be where it's alive. If it's profane water, then
poison or cursed.
Then it's poison, cursed. That water weird is going to attack people. So maybe the water weird in your campaign is in a poisoned well, and it's up to the party to try to figure that out. Obviously, this is a low-level adventure, so they can't just remove curse on it. But maybe something happened. Someone was murdered in the well, and that's poisoned it or cursed it somehow, and the party has to remove that curse.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's people stop throwing coins in the fountain, and that's angered the water weird.
Yeah. But they still ask for their wish.
But they still ask for their wish when they walk behind now the water.
We can't report to his
marriage.
His marriage, overlord. Like they keep asking for wishes, but
what are you
down on your quota?
Down on his quota. Yeah. So those are the kinds of adventures that you want to have. If you want to incorporate them with something other than bruisers that the party summons, or party. Even pure elementals, in the setting of Eberron, they are used to power airships and lightning rails, all of these sorts of things. Maybe different types of elements are necessary for the creation of golems. So that always, fire elementals are always used to create fire golems.
Yeah.
Something like that, which is what gives them their immunity. Air elementals are always used in flesh golems because this creature of other dead body parts needs breath. And those are the kinds of things that you're using elementals for. There's no spells for it, so maybe it makes them up ritual. But I like elementals. To me, they're one of the few monsters that really lets me know I am playing a D&D. Elementals are friends or as allies of the party. I know that I'm in those ranges of D&D where we are in high D&D here. The wizards flying around, shooting lightning bolts. The fighters are doing crazy things with shrugging off wounds that would kill a normal man.
Yeah.
The thieves are literally stepping into and out of shadows. It highlights the magical nature of Dungeons and Dragons that I love so much, and that's why elementals are sort of one of my favorite monsters. Weird stuff.
Or what if you had a water elemental a la the Abyss, trying to contact a party to let it know something.
Yeah.
But the fighter might want to fight it.
The fighter doesn't trust it.
Got the bits and spells on. He just wants the wizard to shoot a fireball down there and just burn it away.
Just burn it all away.
But you can't do that.
Maybe in that scenario, there's a water node somewhere deep down in the Abyss, right off the coast, and something's wrong with it, and now there's all these water elementals. They're causing storms along the coast and rainfall, and it's like disrupting traffic and trade. And now it's up to the party to descend in their bathysphere as they go down into the crevasse of the water elementals.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. Those are the kinds of adventures that can feature elementals problems.
Okay, so like you said that there are not a lot of water in here.
Yeah.
Like, are there other monsters that you would, just off the top of your head, that you think, oh, you reskin that? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a bit more difficult with elementals because of their elemental nature.
Yeah.
But there's probably some incorporeal undead that you would reskin to be air elementals.
I was thinking of Banshee.
Banshee might not be a bad idea.
You just kind of change it, but it's just this howling wind that
Drives
drives
you
you
mad.
mad.
Yeah. Some things I would do for monsters if I was making them myself, really play up the powerful wings mechanic of it. So maybe an air elemental, can create stronger winds than the monster can suggest. So reading up on the DMG about what happens is the wind strong enough to knock creatures from?
Does it create difficult terrain just walking?
Just walking anywhere.
I'm actually doing that in mine.
Yes, right. So it creates this sort of like hostile environment, debris in there, sort of ambient damage that the party just takes. As long as you're in here, you take X amount. You're not, it doesn't roll a hit. There's no save. You're just
make a save every now and again.
Make a save every now and again, but for the most part, fighting this thing, just getting to grips with it. So I might have an air elemental that does a lot of things with pushing, pulling, and knocking down, and dragging, and grappling with the air. Those are things. I might have an air elemental that steals the breath out of the field, and has something like a death attack that's incredibly powerful. It grapples you and enters into your lungs and steals all the breath out of you. Those are the kinds of things I might do.
Fills your lungs with carbon dioxide
and
just keeps it.
It just keeps it there. It can do that. Same thing with water elementals. Water elemental that grapples you just pouring itself down your nose and throat, filling up your lungs with water, and it's bad news. I always like that one spell in 3rd edition where it draws the water out of a creature and creates an element. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with elemental magic. That feature these monsters.
Yeah, I mean, and some good source material to refer to would probably be Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, definitely.
I want to talk about what you can do with elemental power.
Right.
Just imagine instead of a person doing it, or the way the 4 elements come, it's severely underwhelming. But I see what they were trying to do.
Yeah, they're clearly trying to give the people who like The Last Airbender a way to create that character. So maybe if you're wanting to highlight elemental magic in the campaign, first off, you're using the elemental evil spells as standard spells. But also just sort of thinking and looking at what you can do with elemental magic. What would it be like to really use fire? What would that look like? Is it something more than just throwing a fireball out every now and then? Is it being able to control if you're talking about control of heat, then maybe the fire elemental guy also has corresponding ice powers. Because it's like he's withdrawing the heat from something.
And take the heat out of it into himself.
Taking it out of himself. Those are the kinds of things that they can do with elemental powers. Maybe one of these monsters is run amok and is creating some kind of problem.
gargoyle that's messing around with the composition of the earth in a region, causing the fields to go fallow and bare. And having to appease this gargoyle, or maybe even it's like evil of an earth elemental overlords to convince you, like, hey, bring the nutrients back to this world, please stop. Right? Those are the kinds of things. So when you're thinking about elemental creatures, think about how they interact with the environment. They're really places for wizards and druids to shine, because they're excel against those kinds of creatures. Yeah. Don't limit yourself to the kinds of monsters that are in the monster manual. Yeah. Use the elementals as a base for something. But what if an earth elemental isn't just a big pile of rock? Right. It's like a statue or a rolling earthquake. Mm-hmm.
Just taking a goblin and giving them some fire resistance. Fire breath attack,
yeah, that's enough.
They're just like fire goblins.
Fire goblin, yeah. I mean, I think that the flexibility and ease with which you can run the edition allows you to do that kind of thing on the fly. Right. So that you don't have to fine tinker with things. If you have a favorite monster that you like using, or a monster you've never used that you want to try out, give it an elemental attack, describe it in a different way, and then you've got yet another elemental. So what do you want?
That's it, right? Hello, fellow gamers. I'm Jonathan Pruitt, and this is Jim Davis. And with the tumultuous times in which we live, where brothers pitted against brother, sister against sister, I just have one thing to ask. Can't we all just get along? Let's get what do you
Today's show is brought to you by Audible, a great place to get inspiration for your characters and campaigns. Visit audible.com/webdm or text webdm to 500-500.
Start listening with a 30-day Audible trial and your first audiobook, plus 2 Audible originals are free. We recommend downloading and listening to The Last Wish, the first stories of The Witcher. It's all the grim fairy tale darkness you need to get inspired for your gaming in 2020.
You don't even have to toss a coin to support a Witcher if you sign up today. Once again, go to audible.com/webdm or text webdm to 500-500.
All right, Jim, let's get around to one of these races here. That being
Another one that no one plays.
Huh?
Sorry, another one that no one plays.
Another one that no one plays. What makes me sad is, like, yeah, they have such a rich place in D&D lore and history, right? I mean, it is the origination of, like, the term Gish.
Yeah, for one,
Right.
This is where the Gish concept comes from.
Yeah, the fighter mage type. But, you know, like many races in D&D, they had to throw off the shackles of oppression.
Very yet another escape to Lithid slave race.
Well, the Lithids eventually are going to get there.
I mean, yeah, it's someone like, maybe we just like Ruthyard or whatever, whichever one of the second edition products where they're like, outline the whole situation for the Lithids. Because I just did like how many Zero, where are gifts and other.
What stands out to you when thinking about the lore, place that this can have in your campaign world?
They embody that otherworldly aspect of D&D.
Yeah.
Of D&D being a larger world, of having a cosmos, and having a place, and like they're from, when they first show up, or they show up on villains to give Yankee, they're from the astral plane. They enter into our world through portals and magic and things like that. But they're not elementals, demons, or something. They're just a people.
Yeah, they're an alien race.
Right.
Yeah.
That live there. Sometimes they're sort of like referred to as human-like, former human. I kind of take that stance. I would imagine personally, in my own personal D&D cosmology, most of the races or options for players are descended or magically bred from humans. There's human baseline. And that's what I like, though. I like the otherworldliness. Like the first time I encountered them, when I first got into D&D, and I didn't yet know about like all the editions of D&D. I didn't yet quite understand that like we were playing second edition, and at the time that there was a first and then stuff before that. And so I remember like coming across the Fiend Folio, and the Fiend Folio, the first edition Fiend Folio, is this great book that came out in one, and it's monsters from White Dwarf magazine, which at the time did more than just the Games Workshop Warhammer stuff. It was like the UK's gaming magazine. So a lot of D&D stuff would appear in there early on, and they they've created this portfolio, and the Gith show up in it as one of the options, and the Grace cover of it. It's this iconic yellow skin, sort of like weird misshapen face, and these just giant silver swords. And it just that captured it to me. I like the portfolio because it's just a weird book, you know, and it sort of represents an alternate monster manual than, you know, what else was out at the time. And they've always stuck with me. I caught them again around Planescape and expanded on the lore a bit for me there. You know, you get a bit of, what are they doing in the astral plane? And what are those Gifts to Ride program, Limbo? There's just a lot of promise to them.
Try to keep your shit together.
When I think about it, though, I can't think of an iconic gift like adventure. I can't think of an iconic gift moment. You know, they're not necessarily like a big campaign villain, although I know there was maybe a later, a third edition, or possibly a fourth edition adventure path that featured them heavily at some point, but like I said, I'm not really familiar with it. So I feel like I'm still waiting for Gith to blow up and be something more than just like a weird astral human.
Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe when they finally get around to Spelljammer. First off, I kind of like hate triangle between Elithids, Githyanki, Githzerai. It's very interesting dynamic. It totally reminds me of basically like Emotions, the Vulcans, and the Romulans.
Oh sure.
Like, they look very similar. They have this common thing that's what split them, like how to interact with something or deal with this thing. This third party. When it comes to races like this, we also say it's like Dark Elves. The one that took the wrong turn versus the white one. It's a commonality, right? Just the path taken and the path not.
I see this one as different than some of those. Like the end result ends up being the same. You've got the good guys and the bad guys from this ancestry. But whereas I look at, say, like the split between high elves and drow and the messiness there, and the fact that it changes every edition the story of this, so we've got like a lot of different variations on it. I think it's kind of cool, but not so much if you're looking for like a one true canon answer. Sort of God, manipulation on the form of everybody just overreaction. I think in that sense it captures the sort of spirit of the Fae, the elfenness of elves very well. But it does result to me in seeing like, well, drow is kind of wrong end of the stick. Like, aren't they tricked and like should we show them some kind of compassion and like or something? Whereas to choose this, they overthrow the Olympic with the help of Gith, the leader, and as well as some others. And so there's this split. What should we do now? Where should we go from here? We've overthrown our immediate oppressors. We have a chance to start anew something, and then there's this divide. And I find that very natural. As opposed to the kind of like contrived divides that you see in some of the other splits in the ancestries, like especially say with dwarves. I really think it's like dwarves. You guys have literally abandoned the Dwargar down there. They did what they needed to do to survive, but like y'all could have gone after them. Like it seems like everybody on those conflicts, especially when they involve gods, is just like petty and belligerent for no reason. Whereas I see this one could easily have evolved over time. What should we do? We need to go after them. We cannot rest until we have destroyed all the living.
Yeah, we got to get ours.
We got to get ours.
We deserve it.
Yes, you know. And then the others are like, oh, we want our freedom. Let's not jeopardize it. Let's not risk it further. Let's find somewhere where we can gather strength and establish ourselves first. And so you have this sort of dichotomy. That those are just two differences of opinion that results in this split, which then goes on to get reinforced by better rivalries and vagaries of really. But that initial split there I find very compelling because it suggests a complex world where people are arguing and you almost want to play out this campaign. You almost want to
the split of the gift.
You want to almost want to have this as a mini thing where you're saying like, all right, everybody's kind of making the same sort of character, make humans. I wouldn't necessarily make these gifts as they're presented mechanically, but definitely culturally. Like, let's play that out. What is it like? How do you gather your allies to overthrow these? How do you actually do it? And what's the aftermath? Where do you go? Who do you seek shelter with? It creates two interesting peoples to populate your world with, and they're not like locked into this. You the Githyanki are just that way because they're space pirates. You know, like they live they live on dead gods in the astral realm, and like move into the material realm to like age. They need to age, right? They need to have children. And they
Children
need to do
are
anything.
They come into our world or whatever.
So yeah, so I like it. It's one of those things where I try in most worlds to put like a couple of Githyanki outposts, and like I don't ever make it like the central thing, but it's just a weird thing. What are those weird people doing?
Yeah.
Why do they have a red dragon? And like, where do they come and go from? But you can imagine in a lot of these worlds, the Githyanki just like find an out of the way quiet spot, establish a gate there or something, and then just like this is where they train, they live, and whatever. Before going back to the actual.
I see them more as like space Vikings.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like, they live in Valhalla,
Sure.
and then they come to this world to procreate and all that.
Yeah,
But otherwise,
okay,
they're
yeah.
kind of these weirdly eternal beings
Okay.
that live out their fighting. That's all they want is conquest.
Yeah.
Glory, it's theirs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
They're in a transitionary phase between like mythic and then sort of the day-to-day needs of being a civilization. But you can imagine like down the road, if it continues, people might worship them in other worldly things. I like that.
or just like because I was wanting to bring in a Marvel reference anyway, like Asgardians, a little bit. Right?
Yeah, for real.
You know, they have these they have some powers, and we'll get to the mechanics in a second. Why they're lacking. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. Thanos' lieutenant with the spear.
Oh yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like when I'm sitting there reading this, I look at that dude, like the picture of the GIF. I'm like, oh my god, it's that guy that Okoye kills in Ingo, but gets stabbed in the one before that. It's just like same kind of messed up face, the pointed ears. He's like a space guy. And like,
yeah. They're just space. I sometimes use this stuff to get down to place elves. The servitors of Lang in my Future Rivers are based off of Githyanki. Like they're just a picture of it. Like that looks like a clone person. Like you look at the one, the picture of the monster, and it's just like that looks like a created being, like an engineered being. Sort of like the sallow skin, the sort of uniform features, weird utilitarian look that they have. It looks to me like that's forced grown in a vat of creation somewhere.
Things were to be armies of the Olympians.
Yeah, they're sort of bioconstructs. We can talk about like the Githyanki, and I think there's a lot that's there to mine, and we can keep going. But what do you think about the Githzerai?
Well, the Githzerai, like I love the idea.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, this horrible thing happened. Let's try to rise above it. Let's go get enlightened and see what we are actually made.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they decide
to know ourselves.
Exactly. And so what better way to do that than surround ourselves with chaos? To be the bastion of completing ourselves and our souls.
Right. Yeah.
And hardening that lawful concept within.
Yeah.
Because if you can tame chaos itself, you can do anything. Right?
Certainly, right? Yeah, and they fulfill a very necessary like just game role in that they open up Limbo to be a gamable space.
Right.
Right. And until then, there's some of the outer planes where you're just like, this is cool, but how am I supposed to run a dungeon or an adventure set here? And so the fact that
I mean, D100 table, you roll every round to see what happens.
Yeah, and then the part of me goes, you want a table to tell you how often you should roll, and then you roll.
This table that tells you which table to roll on.
Yeah. I like tables to tell you what dice to roll.
Yeah. Roll this die. So every die you roll, that's the table you roll on. Yeah.
Or one of those all die tables. You roll one of each, and they tell you this is how this.
A little bit different. Oh no, that would be awesome.
So that's where I feel about like the Githzerai. They open up the boat to a gamable space. They can create these manifestos. They stabilize the chaotic soup. But they can teach this skill to others. And they believe in Planescape, it's more like a wisdom-based sort of effect. You imposing your will, the higher your wisdom, the greater radius that you can affect. And but it makes it that. Otherwise, you're having to deal with like slotty and worried that you're going to get encased in molten rock. And
the
oxygen sucked out of your region.
The road you walk down turns into a river of lava.
Yeah. Everything rapidly plunges underwater. And so, like in that sense, it makes the plane just at least viable as a place to have an adventure. And there's a lot of cool stuff in Limbo. There's a spawning stone. There's like substance of chaos itself. And so, like, if you're playing an adventure there, they're obviously kind of worth it. But you can like reskin them, have them be at like a tall mountaintop or low orbit. They've shaped their reality to such an extent they like put them into low orbit and it's just there. Having them be like the mystics, the kind of the people that remain aloof, the Jedi Order, the sort of mystical warriors who have set themselves apart, but also seek to attain this unity with creation, and kind of like balancing those two extremes. I think it works well for them as well. Otherwise, it's just kind of you have to like really work hard to bring it in. Anyway.
Oh, definitely. And also, I love the idea of a base as a kind of a forward outpost to keep an eye on the island.
Oh, certainly. Right, yeah. Kind of you're out there.
Yeah, it's kind of like a peephole into the actual plane, so you can keep an eye on them there.
Yeah, definitely. And I kind of like, I like, mixing things up with planes regarding that. So sometimes the MO is more like the fourth edition, like element of chaos, in which case, like, that's going to approach through these transit planes and you'll be able to see it from there. Mm-hmm. Mixing everything up and sort of like blurring lines. What's a plane? What's a planet? What's a dimension? Giving you these weird situations. Find yourself adventuring in outer space.
What's the difference between all these? Well, that depends on when you ate.
Yeah.
What?
They went out in the world. They're a part of it. They made their own alliance with the Red Dragon. There's no kind of fuzzy on why or how that, the history of that. Or they, for some reason, Silver Sword, Red Dragons, and psionic powers is what I think of. I think they live in those dead gods on the astral sea. They're raiding for treasure and slaves themselves. Their own, it's like vicious cycle. But yeah, it's pretty narrow focused work. Yeah. But in that sense, you also take and strip it away and you're like, you can do anything with it. You can turn them kind of more and make them a bit more like ghoulish almost, that they're quasi-dead, or do something with their Lich Queen rocket. She's been trying to replace Vecna or Saravac or something as the big bad Lich. Those things hold promise, but I just feel like right now they're really underused.
Well, they're underused and a little underserved. So in that vein, let's go ahead and move on to the stats.
Yes.
Tale of the tape, so to speak, in this eternal struggle between these two separate races. So the gift, first off, the only thing they share is the movement speed and a +1 to int.
Yeah, that's really these are different than most of the other races that have, like the base and the sub race. It's almost like the base in this one it's like they switch positions. Mm-hmm. The one that gives you the more benefits and sort of like the stronger character is the sub option. Whereas the base is just like you walk around, you got dark vision.
I guess what they're trying to do is show the further divide of the races.
I mean, it does highlight that very well,
right?
And gives you this interesting things because that +1 is the +1, right? It's the minor of the two bonuses. Yeah. Because usually you get the major of the two bonuses from your base and the minor of the bonus from your sub. That this is just different. Switching it around, I think, does reinforce.
That divide. So moving into the Githyanki, in true Gish fashion, with that +1 int, they couple it with +2 strength.
Yes. Because
you got to be able to swing the sword and the spell.
It's a narrow focus this edition. I think it's one of those where it's carried over from other editions, strength int. That's the mage fighter stats. But when I'm kind of looking at it and thinking about what is it that I would want from this archetype, I kind of strength seems weird. It really fits such a narrow band of basically Blade Singer and Eldritch Knight. I'm thinking about it. Yeah. And it's.
Do you let your players play again?
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think it's just a package of rules that to describe a kind of mixing of sword and spell, and given the fact that if there's any other race in D&D that should be able to combine fighting and it is the gift. I have no problem giving them access to Blade Singing, just rename stuff.
And with a race that is supposedly eternal on their own plane.
Oh, sure.
Just to say they hadn't grabbed a few L's, drug it back, and they're like, teach us. Yeah, you gotta teach us. So there's that. Maybe I think Eldritch Knight though is probably the stronger choice, just because it's going to benefit more from that +2 strength. But you still have a lot of fun. I think mostly though these two races are coming in their own. You get an actual psionic class, and it's not just playtest version right now.
and actually, hopefully, it's real silent. It ain't a silent ability. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. So they have this Decadent Mastery, which you get an extra language master tool.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
I love those.
Because they have a shitload of time to just learn.
Just learn things. They've got this sort of, like I said, decadent mastery. They've got the time. They can just wallow and lounge about. And so you notice these things are not things that necessarily require you to interact with anyone else or like changes your environment. You just like read, study on it, things like that. I like it because it lets you customize a bit more. Anything that gives you another proficiency is fun. But like, I just don't know that between that and martial prodigy and the psionics that it's enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, I see what they're doing with martial prodigy. I mean, light, medium armor, short, long sword, and great sword.
Yeah.
So you can be a straight up wizard running around in medium armor and a great sword strapped across your back.
Sure.
But yeah, you're running around with all this shit strapped. I mean, decked out. I mean, and then you don't need to be at that point. You just need to be an abjurer.
Certainly.
Right. An abjurer.
Medium armor. So that's really for for wizards or something like that. It's going to get you more AC, I think, than just having mage armor on. But medium armor's in that weird place where for like frontline fighters, if you're not willing to invest in the 16 dexterity and medium armor master,
put a shield
in it. Then it's maybe not as good, and you might, I don't know, you might already have access to like heavy armor and just go with that. Because the other option is a light armor, which gives you even higher dexterity.
Yeah.
And not having a bonus to that. Now you're pretty mad, and so I think just the medium armor is going to get more use out of non-warrior types.
Yeah.
Who otherwise don't have access to.
Just have a decent AC.
Yeah.
Because you could pretty easily grab a 16 AC with this. Throw a shield on top of that, and you get 21, which is, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now,
shield spell.
Yeah. Shield spell. That's what I meant.
Damn fine shield, man.
No. But I only say that to lead into the Githyanki psionic, and the fact that you get Mage Hand as a cantrip. Third level, you get jump. Fifth level, it's just death.
Yeah.
Which, of course, Mr. Step once a day. Nothing to scoff at.
That's nothing to scoff at. Especially if you otherwise don't have access to it, or you wouldn't have access to it for a while longer, like say you know something. I just I'm struggling to see, like, maybe I'm just not that familiar with Gith lore. These seem like random sort of spells that there's not a theme going on. It's kind of like, at first we're like, okay, Mage Hand, that's sort of like telekinesis, but am I a mind mage scion, or am I like a body scion?
I think that what they're trying to do with this is kind of shoot each other.
A
little bit of telekinesis, force jump, right?
Yep. And then the Misty Step's thrown in. Now, for a monster, that's really cool because players don't usually expect it. It's kind of fun too. But I almost would have rather seen, instead of jump, maybe like shield reduce and large. You know what I mean? For more or enhanceability for that second level feature that would play on the same themes that we've got here. Jump is a fun spell, not usually picked by first level, usually one of those that's ranked rather low and not usually chosen, but hey, it's concentrationless. First and second level might be your only option, and it looks cool.
Yeah, if you don't have levitate and you don't want to worry about that rope, sure, jumping up on a wall, you can get some decent ups with it. It's one of those spells I enjoy taking when I can.
Yes.
Just because I use it.
It's one that I think gets overlooked because it's just at the same time, like, do your combats not have a lot of levels and sort of tiers where being able to hop and jump witut needing to use your concentration would be advantageous, fun, or satisfying experience? So most times, like I said, the spell isn't working. It's probably because there's not a situation presented for it to be effective.
So let's get on to the more passive cousins.
Yes.
Because they're right. So they get the +2 wisdom. That makes sense. If you want to be a little bit more reflective, they tend towards lawful neutral, which if you're living off of a boat, you're going to need that.
Sure. Yeah.
But they have mental discipline, so advantage versus charm and fright. Do you think that is enough, comparatively speaking?
Do I think it's
all of it comparable to the Githyanki? They get Decadent Mastery and Martial Prodigy. a lot of
Yeah, I was
proficiencies.
gonna say, you get like 6 new proficiencies.
You're getting 6 new proficiencies versus advantage on charm and fright. I mean, charm and fright is good, but
yeah. You could also get beauty from it. But depending on the source of it. Yeah, it's good. It's nice. I kind of think that maybe both of them should get it because it reflects that the fact that they are psionic and they're very disciplined.
and they were covered, and they were charmed for so long.
Sure, yeah, but just not.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because it's just kind of like, it seems like both of them should, have a little bit more resistance to be taken over.
Just a little bit, yeah. So, in that sense, I don't think it's necessarily equal to Deck Mastery or Martial Prowess, but I also think it's sort of, if they had something comparable to those, I don't see why they couldn't focus Mastery. It could be even different there, pick a language and or Martial Prodigy, just port it over entirely. Although Githzerai seem to be focused more on like monks and take advantage of that high wisdom. But like wisdom int, can you think of anything that would be? I mean, like there's knowledge clerics we might use int, but surely there's something else that would prevent it from both of those. But nothing comes up to me.
I mean, I got nothing.
Yeah, so I don't know. I especially like the Githyanki, I can look at it and I go, they're kind of like a hobgoblin in that they've got a weird collection of powers that are sort of related to being a warrior class, but not necessarily like directly tied to it. It's just enough to make me go, yeah, I would play that. That seems fun. The Githzerai is just like 3 spells that I can cast once a day. 2 of them I can cast once a day, and some advantage on choosing. So I'm frightened of not pleasant effects, so you would want to be out of there, but like this, I just feel like you're immune to charm, right? Like if this is all you're gonna get, you're just immune to it.
Yeah.
Train yourself to not worry about those things.
Yeah, and rounding out those powers there, they get Mage Hand as well.
Yeah.
And they get shield, even though they're not the martial character.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I guess maybe since they don't get the armor proficiencies, that's why they gave them shields.
Yeah.
It's more of a mental defense.
Sure. Yeah.
As opposed to physical.
Deflection.
And then detect thoughts. I get that. That's
Yeah.
being mental beings, like you're obviously going to be able to detect other minds.
Sure.
That is your focus.
Sure. And I'm not telepathy as an ability that they all have. Maybe something like 60 feet or 30 feet, it might not be much, but just because to further reinforce that or something. But you could easily change some of these. You could give, like, instead of shield, you could catapult, and that represents more of building on Mage Hand of you being able to move something from a distance, and now this one's just fast and violent. Maybe like you can get like levitate, but usable only on other people or something like that for the 5th level one, just because like you're lifting them up, you're moving them around, you're manipulating the environment, telekinesis. So
yeah, you got some nuance to scare.
I would start with these to just sort of like tie them together and make them more cohesive. It's worth noting that because they are assigned part of those components, and that means verbal, somatic, and material. So these powers do just manifest. They can't be counterspelled. They can't be. I suppose they could be dispelled. Like detect the thoughts could probably be dispelled, but most of the others, jump and detect thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, by the wording of the abilities, it does say this allows you to cast the spell, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it refers to it as a spell. So I would say, yeah, you can dispel it, but no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can't counterspell when somebody's just looking at you and an effect happens.
Right.
What are you reacting to? The effect already happened.
Yeah.
So you can't.
You can't counter it. Yeah, I see it being cast, and I do keep that. It's a good first pass. It would be nice to see more of like different options here. Really, there's only these 2 Gith. There are people who are, say Githyanki, but are secretly more sympathetic towards Githzerai. They're trying to go there. They're like, let's complicate them again. Give us something that to chew on and then like consider and ponder if you think that replacement. In terms of like the classes that they fit, whether it's Blade Singer, Eldritch Knight, or some kind of monk, they don't have anything yet that makes them seem like so good that I would pick them over the exclusion of anyone else. I might consider them, but I don't see myself playing one.
It's especially with the Githzerai, I want to like them better just because I am, I tend towards martial characters, but more specifically monks.
Sure, yeah.
But doesn't really support that.
Not really, no.
It's just like, you know, it's one of those things where, I mean, you see comments all the time about the gift. It's kind of like everybody's like, that's it? That's all you get?
Sure, yeah,
Right?
you just get that. Yeah, that's it.
And you have to wonder if there's correlation or causation on why people aren't playing it as much.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they were only added recently.
Yeah, they only really ratted. I mean, like there's monsters in the main manual, and they give you a nice variety there, but there's not rules for how to create characters. Mordecai that comes out and gives you rules for them.
Just give you a little bit of the history between them.
Yeah, yeah.
But
it's not the extensive treatments like Polo's got, or even really anything new that we're seeing. It's sort of the same old race options. It's one of those things where when you look at these D&D races, it's like, all right, who are these made for? Who's playing them? Where's the demand? For me, I still read a lot of Pathfinder stuff because I like just inspiration for D&D games, and I'll find a similar thing there where it's like, geez, there's like 20 new races. Like one or two of them are really cool, but I think it works best when you take it and you make it your own. Like, you don't have to do the whole there, lifted, formula. We're currently, working with. What if you encounter the gift before they split to Zerai and Young, and they instead are just the gift, and they're a part of the foot soldiers and laborers and servile class of the Olympians, or a different take on elves, people from the future that have come to the past to like avert some great disaster. All around these bizarre things, because they don't have a lot to them, and because they have what they do have is very alien, very foreign. You can like draw on that inspiration becomes completely new, without ever really needing to step on your toes. And then you also have like a nice kind of space astral Viking kind of foe that you fight and negotiate with and all that. So,
yeah. Or you just make a gift Yankee Artificer and you have the Green Goblin.
Yes.
If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. WebDM exists thanks to our Patreon patrons, the Web Demons.
If you join the Web Demons,
a keychain grappling hook. This is just $1 for the month.
Pay 256 water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the 4 nations.
Wait. Earth, water, air, heart. Where's heart?
There's only 4. So 4 elements.
No heart.
No heart.
I cannot see that coming.
It's Ganassi on WebDM. Okay, Jim, let's talk about Ganassi of all of their forms. This is a big one.
certainly, yeah.
Most races don't have 4 subclasses.
Most of them don't. I mean, and those that do, the permutations a little closer. Yeah, a little closer. Elves, probably sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say elves have the most because they have to be the whatever.
They've got to be
everything.
But
yeah, I mean, well, technically Dragonborn, but that's only their resistance and breath weapon. They have they have 10 versions technically.
yeah,
It's not really that different. The difference is elemental.
sure.
But it's the same with Ganassi. And here we are. We've wrapped back around.
The Ganassi are a plain-touched race that's first sees appearance in second edition Plain Walker's Handbook, which is a great, just awesome book for any kind of planar campaign. It's probably like in the top 3 Planescape books that's just fun to read and look, flip through. The basic idea is that they are the elemental equivalents of tieflings and Asper.
Right.
They're those
Genies.
whatever. Yeah, and I'm sure in Planescape how connected they were with genies, or just like they were connected with planes there. Planescape had this wonderful sort of vagueness about it in a lot of ways. But then, of course, they show up in 3rd edition as sort of part of Faerun and tied to the history of Kalmshan and Zakara, I believe. Although Zakara, aka Alkali, hasn't really been updated in several editions, so I don't know how it still fits in with everything in Faerun, if at all anymore. Their lore as being the offspring of genies and mortals sort of gets solidified there. They at least those Ganassi that are a part of the Jinn Freight
lineages or taking positions of nobility or basically the aristocracy, place like Galchan, right?
Yeah, the spoiled rich kids.
Otherwise, I don't feel like they've got a lot going on for them in terms of like history or like a big lore that you can wrap your head around or base a character off of. They seem to be one of
All right, that's an hour.
races that are like included for the sake
Thanks
of
for hanging out.
us.
See you guys later.
The few people who really like to play them, but I don't know, it kind of seems like they get forgotten about. Like not that many people play them. They don't really see